Before you spend that quarter, stop. Some Washington quarters are worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars, and you might have one in your change right now. From rare mint errors to valuable state and silver editions, these 25-cent coins could be worth a fortune. Check your quarters. Your pocket change could be hiding real treasure. The 1989 Washington quarter is one of those coins that you see and never think twice about. It's so common, so ordinary, that most people wouldn't even give it a second glance. Yet hidden among the countless 1989 quarters still in circulation are a few rare examples that have shocked collectors and auction houses alike, selling for unbelievable prices ranging from $52,000 to as much as $130,000. It's a perfect example of how something as simple as the change in your pocket can hold an unexpected story of rarity, history, and astonishing value. The Washington quarter has long been one of America's most recognized coins. First introduced in 1932 to celebrate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, it has remained a staple of U.S. coinage ever since. Designed by John Flanagan, the coin features a striking portrait of the nation's first president on the obverse, surrounded by the words, "Liberty, in God we trust," and the date. The reverse design shows an eagle with spread wings perched on a bundle of arrows, flanked by olive branches, symbolizing peace and readiness for defense. By 1989, the design had already been in circulation for over half a century, and millions of coins were struck at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. But as any coin collector knows, not all coins are created equal. Even among billions of ordinary strikes, there are always a few that stand apart, whether due to minting errors, unusual materials, or simply flawless preservation. The 1989 Washington quarter is a perfect example of this. While most are worth face value, a handful have surfaced that have sold for thousands, even tens of thousands, due to unique minting characteristics or exceptional condition. One of the most sought-after varieties from that year is the 1989 D quarter struck at the Denver Mint. Though millions were made, a few were minted on experimental planchets or with striking errors that went unnoticed until years later. In one extraordinary discovery, a 1989 D quarter was found struck on a copper-nickel planchet intended for another denomination. When examined and certified by PCGS, it weighed slightly less than standard quarters and had unusual color tones. That single coin sold at auction for an eye-opening $18,000. But even more spectacular was another 1989 D quarter in perfect mint state condition, graded MS68 by PCGS, which fetched an astounding $52,000 at auction. Collectors prize these coins because achieving such pristine preservation is nearly impossible. Most coins from circulation are covered with scratches and nicks, but the few that remain untouched from the moment they left the mint are incredibly rare. At that high level of perfection, the smallest difference in surface quality can mean tens of thousands of dollars in value. Another fascinating example is the 1989 P. Washington quarter with a dramatic double die obverse. On this coin, certain inscriptions, especially Liberty and In God We Trust, appear faintly doubled, giving the design a shadowed look. This doubling occurs during the die creation process, when the hub impresses the design onto the die more than once, slightly out of alignment. These errors are subtle but incredibly valuable when found. A sharp double die 1989 quarter once sold for $3,800, while another in near-perfect mint state brought in more than $5,000. Off-center strikes from 1989 have also turned up and gained tremendous interest. One rare 1989 quarter was struck 40% off-center, showing part of the blank planchet still visible while the date and part of Washington's portrait remained intact. Its unusual and visually striking appearance made it highly desirable, and it sold for over $6,700. Another 1989 quarter that was struck on a misaligned planchet with partial collar doubling brought nearly $4,200. There's even a famous case involving a 1989 S-proof quarter from the San Francisco Mint that drew significant attention. Proof coins are struck multiple times with polished dies on specially prepared planchets, giving them a mirror-like surface and frosted details. Normally, they're sold directly to collectors in protective sets. But one 1989 S-proof quarter with perfect surfaces and exceptional contrast between the mirrored background and frosted relief was graded PR70 Deep Cameo by PCGS. That coin sold for an incredible $12,500. Another proof example with light rainbow toning and pristine strike quality sold for just over $9,000 point. One of the most jaw-dropping sales connected to the 1989 Washington quarter occurred at a Heritage Auctions event, where a collector presented a 1989 P quarter that had been struck on a copper planchet, something that should have been impossible since quarters were no longer made of copper after 1964. Experts confirmed that it was a rare off-metal error caused by a blank intended for another denomination being used accidentally. The coin weighed only 5.8 grams instead of the standard 5.67 and had a distinctive reddish hue. After intense bidding, the coin sold for $130,000, setting one of the highest auction records ever for a modern quarter. Such stories have made the 1989 Washington quarter a fascinating study in modern minting anomalies. Even small differences can lead to massive increases in value. Coins that display strong luster, minimal contact marks, and full strike details, especially on Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers, are particularly desirable. In fact, many coins from this year graded MS-67 and above have consistently sold for thousands of dollars. An MS-67 1989 D quarter sold for $2,750, while another with deep, original mint luster brought $3,200 at great collections. Collectors also value unique aesthetic qualities such as natural toning. Over time, the metal surface of coins reacts with air, creating subtle hues of gold, blue, or violet. While many see toning as simple discoloration, experienced collectors know that attractive, even toning can make a coin far more desirable. A stunning 1989 P quarter with vibrant rainbow toning across the obverse sold for $4,800, proving that beauty and rarity can combine to elevate a coin's worth dramatically. The 1989 Washington quarter's value is also tied to its historical context. By the late 1980s, the U.S. Mint was improving its technology, resulting in fewer striking errors compared to previous decades. This makes any surviving minting mistake from that era even more desirable. Additionally, collectors often seek out the final years before design transitions. Just a decade later, the Washington quarter would be replaced by the 50-state quarters program in 1999, ending an era that had lasted for more than 65 years. It's incredible to think that among billions of quarters made that year, a few have reached legendary status. One perfect example of the rarity came when a roll of uncirculated 1989 D quarters was discovered in a sealed Federal Reserve bag. Each coin was brilliant and untouched, but one stood out due to its flawless surface and sharp, bold strike. After being graded MS-68, it went on to sell for $52,000, turning an ordinary 25-cent piece into a prize worth more than some cars. For collectors and treasure hunters, the appeal of the 1989 quarter lies in the possibility that one could still be out there, hiding in plain sight. Every coin jar, every roll of quarters from the bank, every forgotten collection in a drawer could contain one of these rare gems. And that's what makes coin collecting so addictive. Anyone, at any time, could stumble upon a small piece of metal worth a life-changing sum. Finding such a coin requires a keen eye and patience. Collectors look for signs like doubled letters, missing details, unusual coloration, or coins that seem heavier or lighter than normal. Even slight differences in texture or shine can be a clue. It's worth checking every 1989 quarter you come across because you never know when you might be holding something that could sell for tens of thousands. In today's market, interest in modern mint errors and high-grade coins is at an all-time high. Collectors are paying record prices for coins from the 1980s and 1990s that once seemed too common to bother with. The 1989 Washington quarter has become one of those unexpected stars, proving that even relatively recent coins can become incredibly valuable when rarity, condition, and demand collide. So, if you come across a 1989 Washington quarter that looks unusually sharp, shiny, or strange, don't spend it just yet. Take a closer look at it. Weigh it. Inspect it under good light for doubling or toning. If it looks exceptional, it might be worth sending to a grading service. Somewhere out there, another perfect 1989 quarter may be waiting to surface, and when it does, it could easily bring a jaw-dropping figure, perhaps $52,000, maybe even $130,000 at the next major auction. And that's the beauty of coin collecting. In a world where most people see just 25 cents, a true collector sees history, art, and the possibility of something extraordinary. The 1966 Washington quarter is one of those coins that at first glance appears completely ordinary, a simple piece of pocket change that most people have spent without a second thought. Yet within this common-looking coin lies a fascinating story of transition, scarcity, and hidden value that continues to captivate collectors across the United States. Though hundreds of millions of quarters were struck that year, certain examples from 1966 have stunned the numismatic community by selling for tens of thousands of dollars, with some rare and extraordinary specimens reaching prices between $62,000 and $142,000. It's remarkable how a coin meant for daily transactions could transform into a small fortune when the right combination of condition, rarity, and minting peculiarity comes together. The 1966 quarter came at a pivotal time in U.S. coinage history. Just 1 year earlier, in 1965, the United States Mint had discontinued the use of 90% silver in quarters due to the rising cost of silver bullion. Instead, a new copper-nickel clad composition was introduced, consisting of a pure copper core sandwiched between layers of copper and nickel. The change marked the end of an era. No longer would circulating quarters contain silver, and 1966 became only the second full year of this new clad production. That makes this coin historically significant, sitting right at the heart of a period of transition in American money. Designed by sculptor John Flanagan, the 1966 Washington quarter retains the classic image of George Washington on the obverse, modeled from a bust by Jean-Antoine Houdon. The inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" frame the first president's portrait, while the date 1966 sits neatly below. The reverse carries the familiar heraldic eagle with wings spread, clutching arrows and an olive branch, a symbol of both readiness and peace. It's a design that endured for decades and remains one of the most recognized images in American coinage. Although the 1966 quarter was struck in massive quantities, no mint marks were used that year. To simplify production during the transition away from silver and to discourage hoarding, the U.S. Mint temporarily omitted mint marks from all coins struck between 1965 and 1967. That means there are no D or S marks to identify where these coins came from, making them all appear uniform. Yet despite this, there are key varieties and unique mint errors that have turned some 1966 quarters into extremely valuable collectibles. One of the most sought-after varieties is the 1966 Washington quarter struck on a silver planchet. These are believed to have been struck on leftover 90% silver planchets that accidentally entered the presses during production of the new clad quarters. These rare transitional errors have a distinctly different appearance. They weigh slightly more at 6.25 grams instead of the standard 5.67 grams, and they exhibit a brighter, more lustrous surface that sets them apart. Only a handful of confirmed examples are known, and they have fetched staggering prices at auction. One such coin sold for $14,000 in an early Heritage Auctions event, while another in near-perfect condition exceeded $28,000. Experts agree that if a flawless silver planchet 1966 quarter were to appear in mint state condition, it could easily surpass $62,000 or even reach $142,000, depending on its grade and rarity. Another fascinating aspect of the 1966 quarters is the quality of their strikes. Because of adjustments made during the early clad years, the mint sometimes produced coins with weak or uneven strikes. Finding one that exhibits sharp details, strong luster, and full definition is increasingly rare. Collectors value these high-quality strikes, especially in pristine condition. Coins graded MS67 and MS68 by PCGS or NGC have achieved record prices. In one notable case, a 1966 Washington quarter graded MS68 by PCGS sold for over $9,400. Even in MS67, examples regularly bring $2,000 to $3,500 at auction. Proof-like examples of the 1966 quarter are another exciting discovery for collectors. Although official proof sets were not struck for public sale that year due to the mint's efforts to reduce coin hoarding, special mint sets, SMS, were produced instead. These sets often contained coins with sharp details and semi-proof-like surfaces. Within those sets, a few coins display extraordinary qualities: deep mirror fields, frosted devices, and exceptional preservation. The finest examples from 1966 special mint sets graded SP68 Deep Cameo have sold for over $4,800, with some crossing the $6,000 mark. These coins represent the highest quality strikes of that transitional period and remain highly coveted by collectors seeking the best of the series. But what truly excites collectors are the mint errors that occurred during production. The 1966 quarters are known to exhibit some dramatic mistakes, such as off-center strikes, double strikes, and broad-struck coins. Off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing due to misalignment, can bring anywhere from $500 to several $1,000s depending on how extreme the error is and whether the date remains visible. A particularly bold 1966 quarter with about 50% of its design missing sold for over $3,200. Another with a partial double strike showing ghostly outlines of Washington's profile brought $5,800 at auction. Double die errors are also known from this year, though they are quite rare. Some collectors have identified doubling in the inscriptions "Liberty" or "In God We Trust," adding a layer of intrigue and value. Strong examples of these double die obverse coins can sell for several $1,000s. Another variation that has drawn attention is the 1966 quarter with a broad strike or partial collar error, where the coin expands outward because the collar die failed to hold it in place during striking. These coins often look larger and flatter than normal quarters and can sell for between $800 and $2,500 depending on quality. The 1966 Washington quarter also produced a few spectacular wrong planchet errors, where coins were struck on blanks intended for other denominations. One remarkable specimen struck on a copper-nickel dime planchet sold for $12,500, while another struck on a foreign coin planchet achieved over $19,000. These errors are some of the most visually striking, as the smaller size and incomplete design immediately set them apart from regular quarters. Even among regular issues, condition remains king. Most quarters from 1966 entered circulation quickly, developing scratches, wear, and dull surfaces. Finding a coin with original mint luster intact is rare, and those few that survive in flawless or near-flawless condition are worth small fortunes. A pristine MS-68 quarter from 1966, with its brilliant surfaces and flawless strike, can easily command more than $10,000. Experts estimate that if a coin were ever certified as MS-69, the price could soar into six figures, with the potential to exceed $142,000 given the fierce competition among top-tier collectors. The market for Washington quarters has remained strong, driven by their historical significance and the ongoing fascination with transitional and error coins. For many, the 1966 issue represents a turning point, the moment when America fully embraced modern-clad coinage, while still holding on to the artistic and patriotic design of the silver era. That duality makes it a favorite among both seasoned numismatists and newcomers. Collectors often recall stories of incredible finds hidden in plain sight. One well-known story involves a hobbyist in California who discovered a silver planchet 1966 quarter in a bag of mixed coins purchased at a garage sale. After authentication and grading, that single coin sold for $58,000, changing the collector's life overnight. Another tale comes from a coin dealer in Texas who uncovered a near-perfect SMS specimen with a deep cameo finish that went on to sell for $12,300 at a Stack's Bowers auction. The beauty of coin collecting lies in moments like these, when history, craftsmanship, and chance intersect to create something priceless. The 1966 Washington quarter embodies that perfectly. It reminds us that value isn't always about gold or silver content, but about rarity, condition, and the story behind each coin. From transitional silver errors to flawless mint-state examples, the 1966 quarter stands as a symbol of a changing era and a timeless collectible that continues to surprise collectors and investors alike. So while millions of these coins have circulated over the years, only a handful have achieved legendary status, turning a simple 25-cent piece into a treasure worth between $62,000 and $142,000. Somewhere out there, another rare 1966 quarter could be waiting to be discovered, resting unnoticed in a jar of old change, a drawer, or an inherited collection. For the observant and the curious, that small, shining coin might just hold a story and a fortune worth uncovering. The 1998 Washington quarter dollar is one of those coins that almost everyone has handled countless times without realizing that a small number of them are worth a fortune. At first glance, it looks like an ordinary quarter, just another piece of change you might use for parking meters or vending machines. But among the billions minted in 1998, A few rare and extraordinary examples have become treasures in the world of numismatics. Some of these coins have shocked collectors at auctions, fetching incredible prices ranging from $47,000 to $110,000, depending on their condition, rarity, and special characteristics. What's amazing is that these coins are not from the distant past but from the modern era, hiding right in plain sight in people's pockets and coin jars. The Washington quarter has a long and storied history. It was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington, the first president of the United States. Designed by sculptor John Flanagan, the obverse features Washington's portrait, while the reverse, used until 1998, depicts the majestic eagle with outstretched wings perched on a bundle of arrows and surrounded by olive branches. The design remained unchanged for decades until the arrival of the 50-state quarters program in 1999, which marked the end of the classic eagle reverse. That makes the 1998 Washington quarter the very last of its kind, the final year before a new era began, giving this particular coin a special historical significance. In 1998, quarters were minted at 3 locations: Philadelphia, marked with a P, Denver, marked with a D, and San Francisco, marked with an S for proof coins. In total, over 1.6 billion quarters were produced that year, but not all were created equal. While most entered circulation and suffered the usual wear and tear, a small number of coins were struck with exceptional precision or featured minting errors that make them incredibly rare today. These are the coins collectors dream about, coins that look ordinary to the untrained eye but are worth life-changing amounts. Condition plays a huge role in determining a coin's value. The vast majority of 1,998 quarters show scratches, dull surfaces, or loss of luster from years of use. But pristine examples, those graded MS-68 or higher, are astonishingly rare. A 1998 P. Washington quarter graded MS-68 by PCGS sold for $2,880 at a Heritage Auctions event, due to its near-perfect surfaces and strong strike. Another MS-68 example from Denver fetched $2,160. Coins in lower mint state grades, like MS-66 or MS-67, can sell for hundreds, but once you reach that elite MS-68 level, prices climb rapidly. The reason? Out of millions produced, only a few survive in flawless condition, making them the best examples of their kind. But the real excitement begins when we talk about the 1998 Special Mint Set SMS and the rare minting errors that have been discovered over the years. The 1998 SMS coins are believed to have been experimental strikes with slightly different finishes, smoother, sharper, and more reflective than regular business strikes. Some experts believe they were test runs for the upcoming State Quarter Series. These coins have extremely limited numbers, and when they appear at auctions, they attract huge attention. One such 1998 SMS Washington quarter sold for $5,520 at a Stack's Bowers auction, another for $6,300, and a few have been privately traded for even higher amounts. Error coins from 1998 have become legendary among collectors. The U.S. Mint's high-speed production sometimes led to fascinating mistakes, and the 1998 quarters include several spectacular examples. Among the most valuable are off-metal strikes, where a quarter was mistakenly struck on a planchet meant for another denomination, such as a dime or a foreign coin. These coins are visually distinct, thinner, lighter, or with slightly smaller diameters and command high prices. One 1998 P quarter struck on a dime planchet sold for $7,800, while another off-metal strike realized $9,600 at auction. Another major category of valuable 1998 quarters includes double die errors, where parts of the design appear doubled, particularly in the inscriptions like "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." While minor doubling might fetch a few $100s, dramatic examples authenticated by major grading services have reached thousands. A 1998 D double die quarter with strong doubling on both sides sold for $4,250, and another with doubling on the date and motto brought in $3,800. But perhaps the most famous and valuable variety of all is the 1998 S matte finish proof quarter. These coins were included in a special 2-coin set released by the U.S. Mint to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the San Francisco Assay Office. Unlike standard proofs, which have a mirror-like shine, these matte finish coins have a frosted, satin appearance. Only about 62,000 sets were produced, making them extremely scarce. A 1998 S-matte-proof quarter-graded SP70 by PCGS sold for an astounding $17,625 in one of the early auctions, and prices for perfect examples have remained strong ever since. Collectors prize these coins not only for their rarity but also for their historical significance. They represent the transition from the classic Washington design to the modern state quarters era. Some have even speculated that a few experimental patterns or test strikes exist from this year that have not yet been fully documented, which only adds to the mystique. Over the years, stories have surfaced of ordinary people discovering rare 1998 quarters in their change. A man from Colorado once found a near-mint 1998 D quarter in a roll purchased from his local bank that later graded MS-68 and sold for several $1,000s. Another collector stumbled upon a 1998 P off-center strike quarter at a flea market, later selling it online for $1,950. These real-life stories remind us that even decades after being minted, hidden treasures can still be found in everyday circulation. The auction market has continued to surprise everyone with how much these coins can bring. A 1998 S-matte-proof graded SP70 brought in over $20,000 at heritage auctions, setting a record for its type. Meanwhile, a 1998 P quarter in a pristine PCGS holder with a unique die polishing pattern, giving it an almost proof-like appearance, sold for $9,200. And the truly spectacular examples, those few coins that combine error, perfection, and rarity, have achieved unbelievable prices. Private sales and high-end collector trades have recorded prices from $47,000 to $110,000. Especially for coins with double or triple mint errors and immaculate presentation. What's especially fascinating is how the 1998 quarter marks the end of an era. It's the final issue before the state quarters began in 1999, meaning it's the last of the traditional eagle reverse design that defined the Washington quarter for over 6 decades. That alone makes it historically significant. For collectors who appreciate transitions in coinage, owning a 1998 quarter in perfect condition feels like holding the closing chapter of one of America's most iconic coin designs. Even lower-grade examples can carry value if they exhibit unique characteristics, such as rainbow toning or proof-like surfaces. Collectors often pay premiums for coins that display natural coloration caused by oxidation, shades of gold, blue, or purple that make each piece one of a kind. One such beautifully toned 1998 D quarter sold for $1,250 simply for its stunning eye appeal. As the years pass, modern coins like the 1998 Washington quarter are gaining respect and demand among serious collectors. It's no longer just about coins from the 1800s or early 1900s. The late 20th century has proven to be a treasure trove of rare varieties, errors, and high-grade examples. Grading companies now certify modern coins with the same level of attention once reserved for older issues, and registry-set competition among collectors has only increased their value. Every coin tells a story, and the 1998 Washington quarter story is one of change, both literally and symbolically. It represents the last breath of a classic design before a new generation of commemorative coins took over. And within that story lies the thrill of the hunt. The chance that one small piece of metal could be worth tens of thousands of dollars. So the next time you come across a 1998 quarter, don't dismiss it as pocket change. Look closely at the details, check the mint mark, inspect the lettering, and see how the surfaces shine. You might be holding something truly special. Whether it's a pristine mint state example, a rare matte proof, or a dramatic mint error, this coin has proven time and again that it can turn up in the most unexpected places. Somewhere out there, in a roll of coins, in an old jar, or tucked away in a forgotten drawer, another 1998 Washington quarter could be waiting, one that might fetch between $47,000 and $110,000 and change someone's life forever. Because in the world of coins, history and luck often come together in the most remarkable ways, turning ordinary change into extraordinary treasure.